Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of March 11th until March 18th, as we have Jupiter stationing direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. Mercury retrograde in Pisces continues on, plus we're approaching the Pisces New Moon that will be exact March 18th and 19th. So we'll be discussing all of that and more in today's show. A quick reminder that next weekend I'll be in Sedona at the Sedona Ascension Retreat from March 20th to March 22nd. We will be gathering at the Sedona Performing Arts Center for a weekend of beautiful speakers, workshops, messages, and teachings. You will find all kinds of inspiring understandings of what we're moving through at this time, from Bashar, channeled through Daryl Anka, William Henry, Daniel Sheehan, Alan Steinfeld, Caroline Corey, Yannicka from Wisdom of North, Sarah Breskman Cosme, Jimmy Church, and many other featured presenters will be sharing inspiring messages about unconditional love and ascending at this time on the planet. I will also be on the main stage presenting on Saturday afternoon. I'm also teaching an astrology workshop about accessing more of the multidimensional energies in your chart. So if you have the time and availability to join us in Sedona, again, it's called the Sedona Ascension Retreat. I'll put a link below the podcast here if you'd like to check it out and kick off the Aries equinox in Sedona. At the end of today's show, I also want to share with you some important updates about my upcoming in-person workshops called the Crystal Pyramid Experience. So I'll cover that at the end of today's show. So let's get into what is unfolding this week astrologically, as we just had Jupiter station direct at 15 degrees of Cancer late on March 10th, and Jupiter is going to be at 15 degrees of Cancer all month, conjunct Sirius. And I did do a separate podcast episode for you on Friday discussing the energetics, themes, and potentials of this conjunction, but I do want to touch on it because it is strong this week, and it's also amplifying the water energy that is still dominating. And that means this is a time of amplified feelings. And Jupiter is bigger at this time, so it's bringing your attention to the Cancer areas of your life and asking you to trust and believe in what you need. Cancer is the most personal of the water signs. It brings you into your internal world, your feelings, your core needs, how you trust yourself, how you listen to what your energy needs. And all of this can lead to emotional breakthroughs that assist you in growing through something that maybe you have internalized or you've been searching to understand it. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, which means it's a favorable placement that supports the emotional understandings you're ready to integrate and learn from at a whole new level. Jupiter makes things bigger, so there's an amplification and even an exaggeration of feelings at this time, but it is optimistic, expansive, abundant, and can bring about good luck and happy developments. So overall, throughout this week and through the rest of March, your feelings and internal messages are giving you important personal breakthroughs that are meant to guide you forward and perhaps allow you to turn a page and move into a higher perspective of what you've been learning emotionally and how you're more aware of what you need. Of course, that's pretty general on purpose because you have to apply it to your own life and the situations you're moving through. But this is basically a trust your gut, trust your heart energy, trust what you're feeling, because that Jupiter energy will expand our empathy, our need for connection, our sense of love, and our desire to be understood. Now, here's something interesting that I was thinking about. So Jupiter takes 12 years to move through all 12 signs of the zodiac, since it spends about 1 year in each sign. So there's a 12-year cycle here with every Jupiter transit. The last time Jupiter was in Cancer was 12 years ago, specifically June 25th, 2013 until July 16th, 2014. So 2013, 2014 was the last time Jupiter was here in this area of your chart. But what I was thinking about was that the last time that occurred, Jupiter was opposing Pluto in Capricorn and squaring Uranus in Aries. And if you've been into astrology for a while, you will perhaps recall that 2012 to 2015 was a very important time of life changes and personal growth, as Pluto in Capricorn squared Uranus in Aries 7 times. 7 times, 2012 to 2015. Then Jupiter in Cancer came through and expanded those developments. So here's where I'm going with this. The last time Jupiter was here in Cancer in your chart, there would have been some big life developments that were forcing you to evolve, make a new choice, expand something in your world and in your life that you could have had a lot of struggle or strife with, because there was tension, uncertainty, maybe feeling like your hand was being forced and it wasn't something you were choosing from a peaceful, trusting place. Rather, you had to tap into a deep faith that you were moving in a new direction, because this Jupiter in Cancer was opposing Pluto in Capricorn and squaring Uranus in Aries. Again, that was 12 years ago. And so why I'm referencing this is because this is now a time when maybe you're emotionally clearing out anything that was left behind and unresolved from 2013 and 2014. And this is looking at any emotional debris you've been holding or carrying that has kept you stuck, or maybe unconsciously left a mark, left a core imprint, pain, resentment, sadness, hurt, any kind of lower emotion. Maybe it's coming up now and you can track it back to 12 years ago when Jupiter was in a bigger struggle to trust yourself. So I wanted to offer that, especially for those of you who are more intermediate in your understanding of astrology and you track these transits for yourself. Again, go back to 2013, 2014, and look at how that Jupiter in Cancer was handling the tension of that big, perhaps life-changing T-square. Now check in on your emotional well-being now and look at what you are moving through or perhaps feeling into that you are purging and learning from even more at this time, especially because that T-square covered 8 degrees to 16 degrees of Cancer. Jupiter will be moving slowly through the rest of March and perhaps giving you waves of insight and understanding that was previously unavailable or hidden from you. This energy can also support changes in your domestic life, family, interiors, home environment, real estate, housing issues, moving. Perhaps there's a new solution that also is presenting itself and your energy rises and feels excited around it that yes, this is for me. This is the next choice. Keep in mind that Jupiter has been retrograde since November 11th, 2025. And so the station direct helps with anything you've been sitting on, working through, and waiting for in the Cancer areas of your life. So again, that's going to amplify feelings, responses, reactions, unspoken messages, and anything you're picking up on in an environment that you're sensing has meaning. And that can simply be reading the room more accurately, picking up on what people are feeling, even though they're not saying it or outright expressing it. So keep in mind that's part of how the Cancer energy works, and Jupiter wants to give you the gifts of those messages and understandings. Now, as I said, we have a lot of water going on this week, and that's especially true in the Pisces areas of your chart. So Mars in Pisces is going to be conjunct the North Node in Pisces at 8 degrees on March 13th. This is a conjunction that supports fated forward movements, trusting where you need to show up or take action, following an unknown path, moving forward. You might feel that you finally have the capacity to take something to the next level or to move it forward if it's been stalled out, uncertain, or lacking energy. Mars in Pisces makes moves when he feels an energetic force that supports him. This is a Mars that will just hang out on the yoga mat, drift off into a daydream, and wait until the energy moves him. And so as we approach the weekend, you might have a sense that you're finally ready to do something and it comes out of the blue. I think of this Mars in Pisces as hibernating, where you're just hanging out and waiting and nothing seems to be going on. But internally, there could be quite a bit shifting and moving, almost like you're gathering energy together. Then when inspiration hits, you're ready to go, you make it happen, and you get a lot done in a short amount of time. This is also because that Pisces influence takes us out of the time-space perspective, and you could all of a sudden clean up the whole house in only an hour, and maybe you were avoiding doing it because you're like, I don't have 5 hours to do all this. So there's this very interesting dance that happens with Mars and Pisces, and when there's a conjunction to the North Node, you are supported in moving forward. In fact, there could be something that you can't deny, you can't hold back. You're like, I've just got to go for this, I've just got to try this. I feel it's bigger than me, and that's because it's your soul opening a pathway and a door that you're meant to trust and follow. So this is an action-oriented energy on Friday that Mars in Pisces wants you to take something forward finally, and the North Node in Pisces is beautifully supporting it. Then a few days later, on March 15th, Sunday, Mercury retrograde in Pisces will be conjunct to this Mars at 10 degrees of Pisces. And Mercury is bringing something back to Mars that he forgot or lost. And in Pisces, there's a remembrance of what was forgotten, overlooked, misplaced, or dismissed. So think of that Mercury floating his way back to Mars with his little arm floaties on, hands Mars something important that Mars is meant to integrate and receive. This is very receptive energy, so there is heightened intuitive downloads here into your self-awareness around what you need to take action on. Because that Mars is still supported after that exact conjunction to the North Node in Pisces, and now Mercury retrograde is going to be making a conjunction to that North Node. So this is about really trusting what you feel is moving you forward and to invest in that, to put energy towards it, whatever it may be. Now, this is also playing out after we had that Virgo lunar eclipse, and it's asking you to trust the changes that are unfolding at this time, even if you're not sure why, because the Pisces energy doesn't operate off of why or even how. There's just a sense of, this is where the energy is going. My intuition is guiding me here. I can feel that this is accurate, or this is what is meant for me right now. So it's a personal internalized feeling that's moving you forward to return to something, to remember something. Maybe it's to circle back or try again, simply because it's Mercury retrograde, to look at something in a new way and to approach it with a more elevated self-perspective. This is the Mars energy here, because Mars is connected to our ego self, what we want and desire, where we invest our life force, and what we create, what we go after. In Pisces, it's more subtle, but this Mercury retrograde and the conjunction to the North Node means there's something here for you to see perhaps in yourself in a new light. And so if we were to make this personal about your own self-reflection, there could be something that's been hidden in your subconscious, unfocused, confusing, uncertain, that now is coming to light at a whole new level of your being. Maybe there's something in yourself you're realizing, I don't want to be that way anymore, or I don't want to put energy towards that thing anymore. I'm realizing I don't like it. I don't want it. It doesn't benefit me. There's a heightened self-awareness here about what you're shifting and changing, especially after that Virgo lunar eclipse. And now you're maybe even sensing how you're different, what is even clearing out for you. The Pisces energy is always about endings because that's what prepares you for the new beginnings of Aries season. And we already have 4 planets in Aries at this time: Venus, Neptune, Saturn, and Chiron. So there is energy building here that perhaps you're feeling and sensing that is going to gain strength later in March. And considering how fast time is going, that will be here sooner than we expect. But right now, in this current cycle, especially as we approach the Pisces New Moon, which will be exact on March 18th at 28 degrees of Pisces, there's something that you're understanding, contemplating, and even owning around your journey and yourself that is transitioning you into a higher place of self-awareness. It is a removal energy, an unraveling. And in Pisces, it could feel like it's happening regardless of what you're choosing. The unraveling, dismantling, completions are meant to unfold at this time, especially with this Mars and Mercury retrograde here. And it's what you're thinking about and maybe trying to figure out that is also part of this equation. In your chart, you could look at 8 to 10 degrees of Pisces as where these heightened understandings are arriving. You would look at the house that you have 8 to 10 degrees of Pisces in. And then after this conjunction between Mercury retrograde and Mars, Mercury begins to make that exact conjunction to the North Node at 8 degrees on March 17th. And so this is going to be a span of time, including this week through basically the end of the month, of understanding a spiritual lesson, a karmic theme, an area of personal growth and or lessons in loss that you are moving through, releasing, and freeing yourself from that cycle. This is a cycle ending energy. It's clearing out patterns, routines, unconscious behaviors, and habits that have been active in your life or in your world. And now you're seeing it in a new way, perhaps in a new light that you can't deny. And this is where the energies are also lifting us higher to identify the growth, wisdom, and developments that have come from a cycle. That's because it's working with the North Node, and the North Node always wants us to grow and evolve. It's where we're meant to welcome in new insights and understandings, but these ones aren't logical in Pisces. It's just what we're feeling or sensing. It's what you're getting in your dreams. It's the messages coming through during meditation or when you're just driving in the car listening to music and something clicks. There could be an arrival of a message or clarity that appears out of the blue, and you might even resist it. You might even think, no, that's not true. No, that can't be real. I'm not sure about that. There's an element of challenging what we're receiving with that North Node in Pisces because it's always in opposition to the South Node in Virgo, which wants proof, evidence, clarity. How did this happen? How is that possible? It seeks out the logical understanding of reality, but Pisces does not. Pisces is simply trusting, I know this is correct because I feel it, and I don't need anybody else to validate it or understand it in the same way that I do. And that's how the Pisces energy is very personal and internal as well. You might have some big life understandings and spiritual breakthroughs over this next week, especially as we get to that Pisces New Moon, and especially with this Mercury retrograde conjunct the North Node in Pisces, which hangs out there from March 17th until March 24th. So again, 8 degrees of Pisces is going to be an influential energy point. The Pisces New Moon is coming up on Wednesday, March 18th. It's exact at 9:23 p.m. Eastern Time, so it could be early in the morning on March 19th for you, depending on your location. And this new moon at 28 degrees of Pisces has a lot of energy underneath it. And that's because this is a point that we've had ongoing transits from both Neptune in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces over the past few years. Both have now moved on to Aries. But over the past few years, this would have been an area of your life where you were being required to dig in and do some big, important work that perhaps felt like it just kept going on, like there was more layers to it, there were more things to understand, there were more connections to it. It could have felt endless, which is a Pisces theme. And part of our work and responsibility with the ongoing transits to the late degrees of Pisces was to look at what we needed to unpack and unload. Now, it reminds me of a story I heard a while ago about someone who was taking a job at a hospice. So I want to offer just a little gentle heads up about this topic in this area, because I know that hospice energies can bring up sadness, grief, and pain, and rightly so. But the story I wanted to share with you was about someone I look up to who was starting a job working at a hospice center. And part of her training was an all-day experience, all 8 hours, of understanding what a hospice patient was most likely moving through. And this was new employee training, which started in the morning and asked everyone to write down on a note card everything they value in life, what matters to them, what's important to them, what they love, what they enjoy. And then as the training progressed throughout the day, every half hour, they were asked to let go of one of these things on their note cards. Every half hour, they had to release something they enjoyed or loved. And by the end of the training, by the end of the day, they had 2 things left in front of them. And then, of course, the task was to let go of one of those remaining things. So clearly, this is an emotional experience, an emotional exercise. And when she was telling me about this exercise, I felt it was so moving, but also so eye-opening, because it brings us into what matters to me in my life. When you fast forward or have to deal with end-of-life care and things are leaving and closing out, you're going to see everything so differently. You're going to have a different perspective on your values, your choices, your experiences. And I recognize that some of you work in hospices and end-of-life care, and this is energy that you experience and know well. But when I heard about this day of training, it certainly made some things more evident to me around what matters and what I would choose. And so I'm sharing this with you today because in Pisces season, there are parts of our energy and parts of our lives that we have been clearing out, especially since March 2023, when Saturn first entered Pisces. So looking back on the past 3 years of your life, you might be recognizing some things that you had to close out or end, that you had to make an important decision, make a choice. And maybe that was hard, gut-wrenching, heartbreaking. Maybe there's things you had to move away from just for your best and highest good. Maybe there's things you had to do differently because you were ready for a new chapter. Of course, there's so many ways that we experience endings and closures, but there's an understanding this March about what that was for you and why. And there could also be something here that you're understanding and seeing in a new light, that you made a better choice, or you understood why there was no more energy for something, or you were ready for the next step, the next beginning, but in order to have that, you had to close out and move away from something else. Of course, there's a million ways this could show up or unfold, so always trust what it is for you. But I want to offer this as an understanding that maybe there's something moving through you at this time that's a little bit more emotional than you expected, and it signifies what you have grown through privately, personally, emotionally, and intuitively that is meant to be closing out at this time and taking you to this Pisces new moon that seeds a new beginning of new hope, new illumination, and new spiritual awareness around what is possible next. I'm feeling this Pisces new moon as hopeful. I'm feeling it as an ascension ladder that is elevating you to a new beginning and some type of fresh start that perhaps you felt was postponed, canceled, delayed, or missed, but that was only because there was just so much dang work to do here to clean up and clear out karmic debris and spiritual lessons, as well as emotional baggage and harm that's been done. And now this is a point of being free, of feeling that it's complete and released from you, and it's offering you more ways to have unconditional love for yourself. And so the higher energies of Pisces are compassion, forgiveness, understanding, detachment, love, and acceptance. And this is a time to look at the hidden messages and soul wisdom that you weren't able to see or understand because you were in it, right? And that's part of our human experience. It's almost like when you're in something, you don't have to always know the spiritual reason or the soul lesson or the karmic blah, blah, blah. And too many people rush in with that. But if you're in it, if your humanness is in it, you're meant to be in it. You're meant to be moving through whatever that has been for you, to be in the feelings and the emotions, to be in the messiness or the overwhelm or whatever the case may be. You're meant to be a human and to also have ways that allow you to process and take care of yourself as you move through whatever it is that you're in. And then at some point, perhaps you'll feel you're ready for the bigger spiritual reasons and understandings once the human experience wants that. Sometimes people rush in too quickly to be the spiritual guru, and it's not time for that. It's certainly not welcomed, and it just comes across as unsolicited advice, right? So there's something about this Pisces new moon that is going to transition you forward. There's an energy of transcendence and dissolving at these last degrees of Pisces. There is a freedom and detachment that arrives. So you want to look at where you have 28 degrees of Pisces, as this is where the new moon is happening for you and giving you new understandings of hope, possibilities, and next steps. I have a video for you on YouTube going through the Pisces new moon chart even more. So please check that out. I also want to note that on March 18th, Venus in Aries squares Jupiter in Cancer at 15 degrees. And that Venus in Aries square is going to exaggerate your desires, your wants, what you have to have, what you have to buy. So this could be a day of splurging on March 18th. There can be an exaggerated sense of self as Jupiter squares Venus in Aries. There can also be big feelings, big expansive energies around who you are, what you need, and what you want. So 15 degrees of Aries and 15 degrees of Cancer will be highlighted on March 18th. And then also on the same day, as that new moon occurs, the Sun in Pisces sextiles Uranus and Taurus at 28 degrees. And this is the last time the Sun in Pisces will make this sextile, because Uranus is going to move on and enter Gemini once again in late April. And so there is a freedom that comes through with this energy, a creative release, a breakthrough in understanding. This can certainly support some of those themes I was just talking about around what you're moving away from, where you are elevating, and what you've let go of. You could really feel like, I'm good without it. I'm feeling more calm and peaceful without that thing or that stuff. There's a release here that feels like liberation. This could also relate to anything in your physical environment, which is Taurus, as well as every earth sign. So this could mean that you have a lot to take to Goodwill, or you're doing a garage sale, or you're turning over some of your possessions and you're getting rid of things, and it just feels simpler and better. You could have a sense of looking around at what you've accumulated and understanding, I don't want that anymore. So anything in your physical environment that's taking up too much space or room, you might have that sudden jolt of inspiration around this Pisces new moon to clear it out, do some spring cleaning, get rid of it, and that can feel like an upgrade of some kind. So as we move through the middle of March, there could be a lot that is arising within you that maybe you thought was done and over, or things are coming back around for you to see from a higher perspective and with new eyes. You could feel ready for some closures or life changes. that maybe you were hesitant about. But whatever it may be, or however you're moving through this particular Pisces season, I hope that you're also connecting with a rising sense of trust in what's next, that the new potentials are going to be even better, that the new starts that are flowing in are going to be worth every choice you made and every change and switchback you had to undergo. I hope there is a recognition of your spiritual power, of your intuitive development. I hope you're able to trust that you can handle things as they unfold next for you because you're more tapped in to your intuition and your energetic mastery. Pisces season is meant to remind us that we are these vast, limitless spiritual energies in the physical realm, and that we're traveling with very powerful navigation tools that are always available to us, but we have to choose to trust them. We have to say yes to the messages coming through and to take them seriously. We don't always do that because we're so heavily focused on the mind, data, linear thinking, analytics of life, but this is a time to expand into more that's available to you that perhaps you've always known is there. You've always felt the whispers and the nudges. You've always heard your intuition and maybe didn't choose to trust it and then learned the hard way. I should have just listened to my intuition. Well, this would be a time to embody that more, as if to make a new promise and pledge to yourself that I will always include my intuition in what I choose and what I go after. I will work with it actively because I know that it's only here to assist me and guide me. So it's certainly a powerful Pisces season, but at a more personal level. And that's because none of the outer planets are in Pisces anymore. But as the Sun, Mars, Mercury retrograde, and the North Node continue to traverse through the 12th sign of the zodiac, there are more realizations coming up at this time that are divinely timed. In some ways, it could feel like a quieter time, which is right on time. But as we move into Aries season, which will begin on March 20th, the energies will certainly ramp up. There will be much more to do, and you will probably sense that you're more ready than ever because of what you have honored and processed during Pisces season. And so, speaking of what's coming up next, last Wednesday, I announced that I would be doing 7 in-person astrology workshops across the US in 7 different cities. These are going to be 2 90-minute immersive workshops focused on galactic influences, cosmic codes, channeled messages, and your soul's ascension path that is coded for this particular time on the planet. This is meant to be next level information to assist you in working with the new energies and frequencies that are coming onto the planet that are quite big and powerful, but we have to be energetically ready to not only receive them, but to integrate them. So part of the intention of the Crystal Pyramid experience is to assist with raising our own baseline frequencies so that we can hold a higher frequency that will also be compatible in connecting with other beings, other energies, and whatever unfolds next on the planet. The guidance I've been receiving about these workshops is all channeled messages that started a number of months ago now. We've been working on these workshops for many months. And so I wanted to let you know that at this time, most of the cities are over 50% filled. So we are selling quickly, and I want to give you that heads up in case you were planning on joining and would like to reserve a seat. We only have so much capacity at each venue, of course, so I wanted to share that these tickets have been selling fast. There is not an online experience at this time. I know many of you have asked. If that were to occur, I would let you know later, but at this time it is meant to be an in-person co-creation gathering of multiple people coming together, working with particular places on the grid to infuse it intentionally with these energies. That's especially needed at this time. That's part of how we are doing our collective work together. and also how that work is amplified and strengthened when we are in community together. So if you're interested in joining one of the in-person Crystal Pyramid Experience workshops, please check out the details to join us in Austin, Texas, Ojai, California, Portland, Oregon, Boston, Massachusetts, Orlando, Florida, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Seattle, Washington. I would love to meet you at one of these events. Plus, another intention is that it brings together more people of like mind. So you will meet and connect with others, most likely in your area, who share this passion for astrology, ascension, galactic energies, and so much more. So this could be a great place to connect with others of the same vibration, similar passions, and we need each other more than ever right now. So I certainly hope that you make some new friends if you want that and meet some wonderful people in this community. You will find the link below this podcast in the description box to discover more about the Crystal Pyramid Experience and, of course, all the details for each location. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me today. A joy to connect with you here in this space. I'll be back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a new podcast episode, and wishing you a beautiful Pisces new moon. Be sure and check out that video on YouTube where I go through the chart and share even more specifics about this new moon energy signature. Have a beautiful day ahead, and I'll see you back here soon.